Welcome, viewers and listeners, to today's Nigeria Power Sector broadcast. Yesterday, we addressed some issues related to complaints handling by Abuja NEC Forum. Some issues have come up from that engagement of the broadcast of yesterday. For instance, a lot of phone calls have come into our office asking about the conclusion reached by Abuja NEC Forum on the issue of the meters that were said to be bad and removed by Abuja Electricity Distribution Company. Well, our answer to that question is we are not to really give the ruling of the NEC Forum. Those that want the ruling should approach NEC Forum for the ruling, especially those that are among the institutions under the power sector. The NEC Forum is under the power sector and the regulator is under power sector, so they can get the information from there. However, there are issues here. Looking at the institutions under the power sector and the way they function, whether they are encouraging the sector to grow, whether they are encouraging abuse of consumers' rights or unfair business practices in the sector, one will wonder, why will AEDC not, Abuja Electricity Distribution Company, not address complaints brought to them by the consumers for over 15 working days? Almost all the complainants that attended the forum said they had written Abuja Electricity Distribution Company for over 1 or 2 months and no answer was given to them. Hence, they had to approach Abuja NEC Forum for them to get redress. The question is Abuja Electricity Distribution Company sanctioned for neglecting consumer complaints? Another question is, are these consumers enlightened to even know the way to address this, to face the complaints or present them before Abuja Distribution Company or present them before the Abuja NEC Forum? These are the questions begging for attention. Another question is, how is the regulator, Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, trying to enlighten consumers on the regulations they have for their protection? From our findings, many consumers don't even know the tariff they are being billed on. They don't even know the capping they are placed on. They don't even know how much they are charged for kilowatt hour. And the distribution, the NEC will tell you it is there for them to see. The question is, how many consumers have internet facility? How many consumers have the electricity to know? Even if it's in the internet, whose responsibility is it to let consumers of their services know how to relate with them? Does the principle of consumerism not say that consumer behavior entails that the marketer or the service provider should study the consumer and try to convince them so that they will get their buy-in and support? But what we see in the power sector is monopoly, because the country has been shared for the 11 distribution companies to monopolize different sections of the country. And because of this, they have no regard for the consumers or the interest of the consumers. The worst situation is the regulators seem to be at peace with the way the distribution companies are treating consumers. Otherwise, they should be able to sanction them or query them for failing to address complaints brought to them by the consumers who are the complainants. Another issue is, why will the distribution company be comfortable to disconnect people and allow them to remain in darkness for months, forgetting that if they connect them to the meter, they will be paying them to generate income? Yet, you hear the distribution company tell you that that tariff shortfall is high. They tell you they are not making profit. How can you make profit when a transformer that is serving the community will stay for 1 year without being repaired? How much will you get from the community? How will you get the money? When you see that when consumers bring complaints about faults, they are not repaired. These are issues that are begging for attention. Now, let us go back to the metering issue. The Nigerian Electricity Management Services Agency is set up to address issues of safety, standards, and quality in the sector. The question is, how many consumers are aware of the functions of Nigerian Electricity Management Services Agency? How many consumers know that before the distribution company will remove a meter from their house, that the NEMSA, Nigerian Electricity Management Services Agency, should confirm whether that meter is actually bad. That even before meters are installed in buildings, Nigerian Electricity Management Services Agency will certify that the meter is good for use, and then licensed electrical contractors should come and inspect the building and confirm that the building is safe to be connected to the grid. These are issues. If the Nigerian Electricity Management Services Agency is doing this the way it should, the consumers will be able to draw their attention whenever issues of meter being removed or meter being said to be bad by the distribution company. The consumers will insist that NEMSA confirms before the distribution company will remove the meter. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow Nigerians, what we see in this narrative is that the institutions set up to serve Nigerians in terms of power sector seem not to be doing what is expected of them. What do we see? We see a situation where the regulator, rather than insisting that consumers are properly enlightened to ensure that consumers are properly served, considering section 32 subsection 2c that said that it is the duty of NEC, the regulator, to come up with a policy that will ensure that consumers' obligations and rights are protected in the sector. But what do you see? Rather than enlighten the people, the regulator will say they have consumer affairs department who will travel from Abuja, for instance, go to Kano that has 44 local government areas, stay in Kano, the capital of Kano State, and address a few consumers there, and return to Abuja without having a structure in place to even address. What they do is they say they address consumer complaints without even doing enlightenment to educate the consumers there to know how to engage with the distribution companies. Now, instead of insisting that the distribution companies address complaints at their level, the regulator that should call them to order and punish them for not addressing complaints takes over addressing complaints. By so doing, they encourage the distribution companies to be lackadaisical in addressing consumer complaints. They encourage them not to enlighten consumers. This is not too good for the country, and there is need to look at this. It's on this note that in today's broadcast, we call on the new president, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, in his effort to reposition the power sector, to look at the governance of the sector, to look at the role being played by the regulator, Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, especially the Consumer Affairs Department, in terms of protecting the rights of Nigerian consumers, bearing in mind that Section 34, subsection 1 of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, as amended, said that no citizen should go through torture, inhuman and degrading treatments. The nature of electricity service delivery to Nigerian consumers depicts torture, inhuman and degrading treatment. A situation where somebody's electricity will be disconnected without giving the person prior notice as stipulated by the regulation. That is torture. A situation where somebody is overbilled without following the billing methodology. That amounts to torture and inhuman treatment. We want the new administration to address these issues for the good of Nigerian citizens. Thank you for listening to the broadcast of today. If you have a problem in your area concerning electricity, feel free to contact us. Call our numbers 080-370-84986. You can as well send us an email, appanig2006@yahoo.com. appanig2006@yahoo.com. Or phone us 080-370-84986. My name is Comrade Prince Will Okori of Association for Public Policy Analysis, handling Nigeria Power Sector broadcast. Thank you for listening.